free fun for everyone. Sold
Leonardo, the katana blade. My God.
Attack the evil Inhumanoid, forcing him back into the earth.
Hey, the name's Boglins. You sold separately.
We battle our He-Man and Skeletor each sold separately. You put them out together.
Turn them into the light, and they change into even more powerful.
Battle against Lion-O and the new Thundercat ally.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. This week we are, of course, doing something a little bit different. We are looking at discontinued toy lines that we wish had lived on a little bit longer. So in honor of the 4th of July, we're all made up here,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
4th of July.
So for the 4th, we're giving you our top five. Oh, top 5. We should have. That would have made more sense.
Well, I can just saw off your thumb at work.
Well, but then we'd still have 5 things on the list.
Well, yeah,
we should have done a top 4 list for the 4th.
No one cares.
Would have made anyway. Oh well. Anyway, we are here at Butler Elementary School in Springfield, Illinois, which was your elementary school, which was also my elementary school some 30 years ago. And
boomer.
I'm not a boomer.
Yeah, you are.
Grandma and Grandpa are boomers.
Yeah, right.
I'm Gen X. All right. So, in fact, the toy line I'm going to be looking at was one that came out when I was a student here, years and years. Wait, was it? Yes, it was. As a matter of fact, I have to double check that. Ooh. This came out the year I started 4th grade, which was the last year I was here at this school. So,
he was so bad he got kicked out, couldn't finish 5th grade here.
No, they didn't do 5th grade here back in those days.
Yeah, right.
Things are different. Mm-hmm. So, these are our top 5 discontinued toy lines that we wish we'd gotten more of. Now, some maybe were cut in their prime, they just didn't take off. Some maybe lasted for a while, and we got a lot of toys, we just wish there had been more. They were ones that we just really enjoyed and would like to see more of.
Or some we only got like 3 lines of here in the US, and everywhere else got them for 10 years.
Right, and it would have been nice just to get more and more here. So, we're gonna start here with our number 5. This will be an animated thing. Number 5. Something.
That's cool.
Alright, so number 5. What's your number 5?
Go-Go's Crazy Bones. Here, you want to hold them?
What are Go-Go's Crazy Bones?
They're just these little guys, little plastic. Just look cool, just little collectibles. They were released in America in 2007 after, I'm gonna butcher this name, Peter Gantner saw their huge success in Spain. The products took off like a rocket, only stayed in the US for like 3 years, but finally discontinued in 2017 around the world.
Oh, they were discontinued around the world in 2017.
Yep, but they only stayed in the US for about 3 years.
Now these, I remember these coming out. There's a game you can play with them where you like flick them, and if they land on their feet and knock other ones over, they win. And our international viewers, you probably have seen a lot more of these Go-Go's Crazy Bones than we have here in the United States. This was a thing when you were little. I remember we were buying these because 1, it was cheap to get them, and I think 2, they sent us some sample packs at the beginning. And then 3, they were a big deal. Like they showed up everywhere for a while. And in fact, I remember they did a promotion one time where they had them at Walgreens. Mm-hmm. And like if you went into Walgreens and you bought like 3 packs, they would give you like a bonus pack free, or they had some special figure or something. And we went in and the guy behind the counter didn't even know what was going on.
We bought like 30.
And there was a whole bunch. And back in those days, there was even a viewer of the Pop Culture Network. I think it was when we were doing the It Figures podcast.
I don't remember that at all.
He was a manager at a Walgreens, and the Walgreens was discontinuing these and discontinuing like Trash Pack and some of those other things. And so he like priced them all at a penny and bought them all and sent them to us. So we got a whole bunch for you to play with sometime.
Yeah, I don't doubt. Thank you if you're still somehow watching.
It was a Joseph Murad, I believe his name was. So yeah, so if you're still out there, if you're still watching, we thank you for that. That was a big part of his childhood, as brought by the fact that he's still talking about these toys.
And I like this one because it's a monkey.
And in fact, there's even one that has a face mask that looks like Jason Voorhees, and we got the gold-plated version of that one. So in fact, I've kept that one, and it's on a special shelf in our TV room.
Indeed it is.
All right, so for me, my number 5 line that I wish we'd gotten more toys of, you don't have to walk away, you can just, okay, whatever. That is the Wheeled Warriors line. Now, this was a line that came out in 1985, and there was a cartoon that went along with it. The problem was the cartoon introduced characters and concepts that were not part of the toy line, so they were never reflected in the toy line, and I think it kind of hurt the toy sales a little bit. But you had the good guys in these white cars, you had the bad guys in these dark blue cars. The bad guys were like moss plant things that had like these evil brains in them that were squishy. But the big selling point with these is that all of the accessories would come off and you could rebuild the toys in any number of ways, and they would come with a bunch of accessories. So this would come with like 3 different guns and some stabby bits and whatever. You'd have different wheels that you could put on them, and you could actually take all of these things apart and attach them in different ways, and you could attach cars to other cars and stack them up and hook them on the side.
This is cool!
Yeah, these were awesome. We only got 1 line of these. They were working on a second wave, but it never actually came out because the toy line, like I said, it failed because it didn't bring in any of the concepts from the cartoon. And that kind of hurt it because this was the big time period of Masters of the Universe and G.I. Joe and stuff like that, where Transformers, where the cartoons were basically a commercial for the toys. So they had a commercial for the toys that didn't really reflect what was going on in the toys, and so that was a problem. But
I know we were talking about how the big nesting doll mech, we wanted to see that come back. I want to see this come back, actually. This is...
And so actually, I mentioned this last week on That New Toy Smell in the mailbag section. This is a line we're going to talk about in the next round of shows when we come back from our brief hiatus. We are going to talk about Wheeled Warriors.
At some point, we have a few other things planned.
But it'll be one of the ones in that next batch of shows. So you can look forward to talking more about that. So,
all right.
Let's get on with number 4.
Transition.
Slugterra, huh? That's your number 4?
Yeah.
All right, we are here at my parents' house, your grandparents' house. Obviously, we're talking about childhood memories and things like that. So, toy from your childhood.
Toy from your childhood.
So your toy is going to be Slugterra. So tell me about Slugterra.
So Slugterra was originally a 3D animated TV show exclusive to Netflix. The figures were released by Jakks Pacific in 2012, 2013. 3 sets were released, a pack with a figure and their gun, a pack with 2 of the slugs, and then my favorite, the one with the gun.
And the gun actually shoots.
The gun shoots specific slug ammo, because obviously you can't shoot this guy. He obviously has too much to him. Can you hold this for a second?
So they're like Nerf darts, kind of?
Yeah, except they're...
Can you pull it out, Joe? No, it's stuck?
Nope.
You have to fire it? You're going to shoot it?
I don't want to fire it out. Just fire it at the camera.
Okay, try it. And you missed. Good. I'm glad you missed.
As you can see, it clearly does fire.
So what would you like to see more of then from this line?
These.
Just more guns?
Yeah. There's only one gun model. They just come with different slugs.
Ah, I see.
This is the one that the main character uses, which I like to see the one that the bad guy uses or what any of his friends use. Stuff like that.
So they all had different guns that shot slugs.
Yeah.
Ah.
And you see the slugs would, when shot, they would transform into these big giant beasts and fight it out.
I see.
It's and they would keep them in like testing tubes. So yeah, these were literally just ammo, and they shot out of guns.
So it's kind of like Pokemon plus guns.
Yeah.
Kind of. Okay.
Yeah, that's a very, yeah.
Okay, that's cool. For me, the next line I'm going for, or actually, I would love to see these come back, the microaggression line. Now, WWE, Jakks Pacific, they did the microaggression line, but then they also, when they took the TNA license, they lost the WWE license, they came back as the Micro Impact line for TNA. They also released a bunch of these as Ring Stars with a Z. They were all basically the same idea, the same figures, just under different names, different licenses. Under the Ring Stars, it was a lot of lucha guys and just basic indie-looking wrestler guys. But you had tiny figures, you had play sets. I don't even know if you remember, but we did a video review on that new toy smell about the microaggression, and you played with one of the play sets wearing a Rey Mysterio mask.
Can we get a clip of that going?
Here, watch this clip.
Well, that was a really cool clip. I liked that.
So anyway, I would love to see these guys come back. I'd love to see some Major League Wrestling, some ROH guys. I'd love to see some of the other, AEW, lots of title belts. If they could get some sort of collaborative deal going where they could go to some of these other companies and say, look, we're going to do these figures, but we're not going to be exclusive just to you guys, because we can take, now that they've done the WWE and the TNA ones, you can mix them together. So now at the time, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, those guys were in TNA. You've got those figures in the microaggression. You can mix them back in with the WWE stuff and do whatever. It'd be great to see some of these come back and have the Major League Wrestling guys, the ROH guys, the AEW guys, and mix them all together, have their branded titles, do the entryways and stuff like that. I think that would be so fantastic to bring some of these back. In fact, there were even companies that did knockoffs of these. In fact, here's some pictures of ones that I have in my personal collection sitting in my basement. Knockoffs.
Wow, those are really cool looking.
No, they're really terrible looking. But anyway, I love these little guys. They're fantastic. They have 5 points of articulation on these tiny little figures. You got head, shoulders, and hips
Knees and toes.
for the legs. So there's a lot you can do with these things. I love them to death, and I wish these would come back with some more modern stars.
I wish these came back though.
Okay, well there you go.
Yours are bad, mine's better.
I don't know about that, but all right, here we go. Number 3.
Here we are at the Washington Park Pavilion. This is where I went to preschool. And I want to talk about some cool toys. Now, you've already seen them here. I really like Mega Man. I love the character. The games are pretty okay. But these specifically are based off the Mega Man NT TV show, which is based off the Mega Man Battle Network video game series. So, these were released by Mattel, of course, in 2004, with only a few waves throughout the year. Quite a few sets. There were these 10-inch figures to small little fighting packs, which I forgot to grab. We'll have some pictures probably on screen, maybe. And of course, you have these little figurines you may or may not be able to see. Now, these ones are definitely my favorites. These big ones. I got these at a toy fair. Someone just had them in a box. I'm like, ooh, these look like Mega Man. I like Mega Man. They're cool. I will buy them. And then these little ones were a gift from my dad, which he had in the basement, and he knew I liked Mega Man, so he gave them to me. Isn't that right?
That is correct. So, why do you like these so much?
Because I like Mega Man. They look cool.
But I mean, what makes the big ones so cool? Other than the fact that they're Mega Man. Like, do they have a lot of posability?
Man. Posability? Well, you got the legs, the knees, arms, shoulders, and the head. So you can just pose them however you want.
Okay, now this Mega Man is red.
This is Proto Man.
No, I'm pointing to this one.
Okay, this is his fire ability. I don't have the normal blue Mega Man version of it.
But you wish you did.
Yeah. And also his arm is possible to be detached and have a replacement. And also it has a thing you can shoot out. But of course I didn't get those. They were just singular in a box for $2.
And then these are basically sculptures.
And these are specifically based off the game, not the TV show.
Ah, I see. But they all go together.
Yes. Because obviously, if you tell, Fireman, and then there's Mega Man using the fire move. Because he beat up Fireman and took his powers. Just like in Mega Man.
So Mega Man's one of your favorite characters of all time, but this is your favorite toy line they've done of Mega Man.
Yeah. aside from maybe the classic looking ones, which is like retro and he's fighting the robot masters.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to try to sneak in here on this jungle gym at the preschool because I'm going to go from tiny wrestlers that I just talked about to even tinier wrestlers, and that's muscle. Now I know some of you are thinking, now wait a minute, muscle didn't really go away all that long ago because we have gotten some other muscle figures. And okay, hold on. We had muscle, the original line came out in the 80s. We only got these in like 1980, 1981. We had to wait all the way until 2002 for Ultimate Muscle, or Kinnikuman Nisei, to come to the United States. And we've got figures, some were the same pink eraser color, some were multicolored, some were fully painted like these, which were awesome. I love all of these. But then Super 7 got the rights from Mattel to start making them, and they made a whole bunch of muscle-looking figures for Alien and Robotech in 2016. They did Masters of the Universe, they did Street Fighter, they did Mega Man ones.
Oh!
They did Shogun, they did Legends of Lucha Libre, and then most recently in 2019 they did some WWE ones. So you're probably thinking, well, hey, they kept making these muscle figures with other, you know, properties, so they didn't really go away. But I want the muscle figures. I want characters like Kinnikuman, and I want characters like Mr. P, who looked like a urinal with legs. I want the DMP from Ultimate Muscle. I want more of those type figures. And, you know, originally these were erasers. That's why they were pink. So they were pink erasers that kids would take to school, and they would actually destroy them and use them. And then they became these rubber, you know, little rubber guys, these little rubber toys. I want more of these little rubber toys. I want them to be softer. The Ultimate Muscle line were harder. They were posed a little bit more, and they were stiffer, and you couldn't really move them around as much. Even though these guys were kind of stuck in a pose, you could still bend them pretty easily and do a lot with them. And they were just fun to play with. And I want more of these type muscle figures that are actually muscle figures, that are actually Kinnikuman figures, not necessarily Aliens or Robotech or Masters of the Universe or any of that. They can keep making those, that's fine, but I want muscles. And we haven't gotten any real, actual muscle Kinnikuman figures since 2002. And that's what I want to come back. All right. It's hard to hold on. I'm actually kind of hanging off over the edge here. So before I fall to my death with 3 feet to the ground, let's move on to number 2. All right, guys, we are here at the site of what used to be Killins. This was the old site back in the heyday of That New Toy Smell and It Figures and all of that Pop Culture Network stuff. And we came back here because it was in this time frame that my number 2 toy line actually debuted. And that toy line, the one I wish was back, is the one that brought us the DC Infinite Heroes line. Now, the Infinite Heroes line actually was the widest range of figures ever released for DC, more than the DC Universe Classics that they called it, the 6-inch line that everybody loved. I loved this so much more because it tried to encapsulate every version of every character. And in fact, here, hold that one. That one, it had mild articulation when it first started. You had shoulders, you had elbows, you had waist, hips, knees, neck. That was about it. Later on, though, they would revise the line and they would release it with a lot more articulation in response to the Marvel Universe line. And so you had shoulders, elbows, wrists, neck, waist, ankles, knees. You had a lot more articulation going on, and the figures became a lot more posable. But one of the reasons why I love the line is because they tried to do a lot more obscure characters, stuff that never got figures released before. Like, for instance, the Earth 2 Robin, the Robin that took over for Batman after Batman died on Earth 2. That's a figure that you don't see get made into a toy very often. So that was great. And in fact, I loved the line so much that a few years ago, I even tracked down a bunch of prototypes. And here is the Superman prototype figure, one of them, that you can see cast in the various colors of plastic that they had available at the time as they were working out some of the kinks. I've got about 4 or 5 of these prototype figures. I love this line. I would love to see it come back because it ended before they did really any of the New 52 or Rebirth. They did a couple characters, but not a whole lot. They've done a lot of the animated stuff, a lot of the DC movie stuff, and I would love to see those get made into the Infinite Heroes. And one of the things about this line is they reused a lot of parts, and I kind of dug it. I know a lot of people don't like it when they redo that, reuse parts, but I love the way that they did it because they did it really smartly, and it made it have a really coherent look as a line altogether. It gave it the way as if a single artist would draw the same characters. They gave the figures overall just a really good iconography, so that they all look like they belong together, as opposed to some lines where they really don't. So I love this line. I would love to see it come back, and there's a lot more characters that they could do with this. So this is my number 2 pick.
Now, my number 2 pick is something that we can't find any of the figures for, or any of the parts to, because they're not just figures. Because they're the Hero Mashups. They were designed and released by Hasbro, and there are these Marvel and Star Wars characters you could pull apart, mix and match them together. I've talked to length about them on many episodes before, so I'm not going to go too deep now, but they're very fun. I remember them being very fun, and they're still pretty fun. Last time I played with them, which was about 3-4 months ago.
And in that 3-4 months of quarantine, we've somehow misplaced them in the house, and probably, you know, in one of those days where stuff was everywhere and we just had to pick up and clean, we picked them up and put them somewhere to get them out of the way, and no idea where they are.
But they're very fun. I was always waiting for more figures because I'm a pretty big Marvel fan. I don't really care much for Star Wars, but I was hoping for like anything else, because both of those are owned by Disney, so we could see other Disney properties. Like, you'll probably get some princesses or whatever, but I was hoping for like some DuckTales stuff or something more like Disney stuff, because those were, I mean, Marvel's owned by Disney and Star Wars owned by Disney.
And for a while, those were showing up in places like Five Below, Tuesday Morning, so you could get them at a pretty good discount at some of those places. But of course, nowadays, you know, they've dried up, they've gone away. You just don't see them anywhere. They don't make them anymore. So it'd be great if those came back and you'd have more pieces to mix and match.
Another thing I really liked with them is that it wasn't just heads, arms, whatever. You also had like capes or rocket launchers or wrist guns.
Like, I remember Iron Man had extra attachments for, you know, giant rockets and boosters, and you could put jetpacks on them and stuff, and then you could take them off and put them on other characters and stuff.
And some characters had more unique stuff, like Falcon had Red Wing from one arm, and then on the other arm he had like a wrist gun. Dr. Doom had his cape. One of the Star Wars figures, I have no clue who he is, but instead of having normal arms, he had super long arms, which instead of going to like the thigh, it went down past the knee. So they were just very long and funny to use.
So then you could build like a Mr. Fantastic or something with stretchy arms.
And they also went with more obscure characters as well, like Iron Patriot and that random Star Wars guy I just mentioned,
who's probably well known to
everyone
big-time Star Wars fans. Who watched all. It's probably from the Clone Wars or something, which we never really got into. So
never seen.
So all right. So there's our picks for number 2, standing outside the old location of Killins. And now it's time for our picks that are number 1. All right, and we are back here for number 1, back at the headquarters for our Pop Culture Network videos here. And my number 1 should probably come as no surprise to anybody, but it is in fact for the Tron toy line.
Wait, what?
I know, right? Now, the original Tron toy line, we got 2 light cycles. We got a yellow and a red, and we've got 4 figures. We got Flynn, we got Tron, we got Sark, and we've got a warrior. And those were the 4, that was it. That's all we got in that toy line. And boy, I wanted more. These figures, when I was a kid, I loved these, of course, because I loved the movie. And I always wanted more figures. Like where's Yuri? Where's Dumont? Where's, you know, all of the minions that worked for Sark? Where's, where are the weirdos when Flynn crashes the Recognizer downtown and finds all the weird programs hanging out? What happened to all of those people? Like, they should have been figures as well. Plus, real world figures? How about Flynn in the real world? How about Alan Bradley? You know, how about Laura? How about Dillinger? Any of those people? Peter, the little real world minion that worked for Dillinger. Like I would have loved all of those. Plus play sets. MCP Cone would have been awesome. Sark's carrier, his you know, massive flying ship, the bridge of that as a play set, that would be awesome. The Tron disc battle arena, that would have been awesome. Like all of that kind of stuff. Now they were working on let's see, another tank. They were working on a tank that would have been part of the line had it continued. They would have done the other light cycles in blue and orange.
That is
I
orange.
think. No, this is red. Technically, it's red. And then, you know, other Recognizer would have been awesome to see at some point. If they could, you know, figure out a way to put one of those together somehow. I don't know. Maybe that would have been more of a playset. I don't know. But regardless, I love these figures. And I wanted more of these as a kid. I want more of these as an adult. And I know we're getting new Tron toys. You know, Diamond Select is putting out all that stuff. We've got Walgreens stuff. We've got comic book store exclusive stuff. But, and we've gotten stuff from the Kingdom Hearts line in the last few years as well. Mini-mates and whatever. But I want more in this style, in the Tomy style. And I know that there are people out there that have made some customs. There are people out there that make, you know, like designer vinyl type stuff that have made like a smoky gray Tron and stuff like that. And I would love to get some of those. I've never been able to get my hands on any of those. I would love to. But I would love to get, as the dog is over here wheezing and coughing and throwing up on the carpet in the middle of our filming, I would love to get more. Are you disagreeing with me, dog? Do you want to live out on the streets? Huh?
No!
Alright, so anyway, Tron is my pick for number one. That's the toy line I would love to see get more. I wish it had never gone away. I wish they were still making them to this day. I wish there were 9,000 figures in the Tron line. I wish we had Ram and Crom and everyone else from the Tron universe made into toys. We get Tron Uprising. I'd love to see Tron Legacy figures like this. Man, there's just so many awesome things.
And as you may have noticed, my number one pick is this thing.
Which nobody recognizes.
No, but no, probably 3 people know what this is. If you've any idea, I'm just building suspense, just elongating the runtime, more ads, probably, not really.
I'm trying to, just real quick, I'm trying to disable, YouTube automatically wants to do mid-roll ads, and I keep trying to disable it. I think at one point it was set up automatically to do mid-roll ads on all of our videos, and I don't know how to disable that channel-wide, so I have to go in on every single one and remember to unclick it, and you can't do that until it's done processing the video, which for some reason keeps taking longer and longer and longer on behalf of YouTube. So, by the way, mid-roll ads, if there are any on the videos, I'm trying to get rid of them, so please bear with us. So, anyway, just throwing that out there. Okay.
Right, yeah, These are UB Funkies. They're the original Toys to Life. Probably.
Yeah, the original Toys to Life for video games.
Yeah. What you do is you would take this big one, plug it right into your computer. So it's plugged in. And then you would take this guy, put him on there with a magnetic feet, and it attaches, and then you can play as the avatar.
So then, basically, it unlocks that character within the game.
Now, you also may have noticed that we have 3 versions of them, and that's because they're actually technically different characters. This one's the most common version, this one's the second common, and this one is like the rarest, hardest to find, super rare, collector's edition version.
and we collected a ton of Funkies back in the day. And in fact, we'll go ahead and announce, we've hinted before at Toys to Life, we've hinted before that we were going to do something on them, and this is what we're looking at going into the next round of videos. I know we said Wheeled Warriors is going to be in there somewhere, but kicking it off, we're probably going to be looking at doing UB Funkies as one of our first videos. When we come back, we're going to be kicking off with that. Plus, that'll be looking at that and then looking at how it changes as we go into stuff like Skylanders, stuff like
Disney
Infinity, and then Lego Dimensions, and how each one of those brought something new. But this is the original of the Toys to Life. These were from Mattel. Mattel was actually working on a DC Comics pack to go with this, but the line was canceled before they came out, but you can find them in old Toy Fair.
All right, well, let's not speak too much. We still got a whole video to cover these with.
But one of the neat things was they all had the same basic shape, like designer vinyl toys. They all had the same basic shape, and then they were just decorated differently. There's only a few that were different. This is one of them with the antenna.
We also have another one I forgot to grab, but he's got big top hat. We'll show him, which is right here. Look, cool.
Or we'll save it. Maybe we should. Maybe I should just make you do that, and nothing appears.
Yeah, cool.
And we'll save it for our video later.
Yeah, but there are many different types of characters as well. Like you have just the normal characters. You know, this is just a flower person. But then you've got the chat person, which you had to go. There's like this one of 6. You have them. You can go to specific chat rooms and talk to people. I used it way too often. I just remember going in. Someone walked in with the big baddie. I'm like, oh, the big villain of the series. And apparently, you could get him as a figure, and I didn't even know until a few months ago. And then we also have racing characters, because there's a racing minigame.
Well, that's actually from Speed Racer the movie. They had a tie-in with Speed Racer.
Well, that would be why.
Yeah.
And then they had a fighting game, similar to like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, but obviously without the blood. Well, I mean, and this was one of the characters there.
So each of these would unlock a minigame. There were certain minigames, like you couldn't go into the building or play some of the games unless you had the correct figure. They also had expansion packs, so there would be portals. And if you put the correct character on the hub, and it would turn into that character, then you could go through the portal into that new area and play the new games and see the new stuff, explore the new area.
My favorite area was the Hell Dimension area, where everything's on fire and dead. And my favorite minigame was the one where you got to build a robot using destroyed parts of living robotic creatures.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Funkies had a lot of neat ideas to it. It was, again, it was the first of the big Toys to Life craze. It didn't get the attention that all the others got because it was PC only. So there were no console versions of this. It was only on computer, so that of course limited some of the view of it. But we loved these. We in our household we actually have a custom shelf attached to the wall, which we'll show off when we do the other video. But that custom shelf is full of them. Plus, we have some more in containers. They had special carrying cases that they sold for these that we have full. And so that's something we're going to be working on, is going through and cataloging and sorting all the ones that we have, so that when we do that video, we can go through them a little bit better. So.
Now, I'm going to touch briefly on the game. I know this is the Toys series, but the game really helps.
We already did briefly talk about it.
Well, yeah, but not like the dates and all that cool stuff.
Oh, you have the dates?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
All right. Hit it.
Yeah, the game was launched in 2007, and it lasted until 2010, and was getting basically bi-monthly updates. So they were really pushing this game, working hard on it. Like the Funkies, they kept coming out with new ones, new areas, kept adding new games. They added this big, like, Chinese-themed area that had, like, you had to get, like, 3 people together with specific Funkies, go up a hill, try to find some secret mystery. I still have no clue what it is. We've never been able to do it. And that's always been one thing, like, just a kid memory that's like, I wonder what's up there. It's probably just, like, some achievement or an item for your room that you can customize. By the way, you can customize a room. But
again, we'll talk about more of this in depth later. But now you were born in 2005.
Correct.
This came out in 2007.
So I was 2.
And in fact, we didn't actually start this until the initial starter pack was on clearance. We were in the checkout at Meijer. Mm-hmm. And the initial starter pack was on clearance, and that's why we picked it up, because it was cheap, because the new expansions had come out. So the initial starter was on clearance.
And this is not the initial starter. This is
from one of the expansions.
It's one of the expansions. We do have the initial starter. It's a bit more of a pinkish purple one, but I liked this one better.
But anyway, that's why we got it. It was because it was cheap. You started playing it. You played it for several years. Your sister started playing it. And then they stopped making the toys, but you guys kept playing it.
Yeah. Even
for years after. And I remember one of the things is they have these magnetic pads on the bottom of the Funkies, and they're these metal sensors up here on the hub. And so the magnets, make it stick into place, and that's how it reads which one you have on there.
Upside down.
And so the magnets hold it into place, but we had this problem where these would get dirty, and it would have a hard time reading them, and so you guys would always bring them to me so that I could go and rub it down for you, so then you could bring them back and try to get it to work. And it took several tries after a while to get it to work, because the magnets would wear out. These little pads press in and they get stuck sometimes, so they wouldn't make good contact. We had to clean these a lot in order to get it working, so it definitely had some issues.
But again, it was the first ever Toys to Life, so these are a few things that can be excused.
Yeah, I mean, and it was neat. It was a neat, novel idea that no one had ever seen before. It was just really mind blowing to pick up a toy, put it on here, and to see that toy show up on the computer screen in the game, and you get to control it.
And then Skylanders came out. Spyro's Adventure. I know a lot of people don't like it because of what it did to Spyro. Okay, but I didn't know Spyro had his own game series until the trilogy remake was announced. So to me, Spyro's a Skylanders character, not a Spyro character.
Right. So you love the Skylanders. Now Skylanders is another one we loved. We had a whole bunch of those.
A whole bunch, yeah.
And then Disney Infinity came out, and we got some of those. And then Lego Dimensions came out, and we bought a couple.
Yeah. See,
but we definitely lost interest the more they came out.
And also, Disney Infinity was more for build your worlds, not fight hordes of enemies while talking to a really cool Captain Flynn.
Right.
And then Lego Dimensions is just a Lego game, but you can choose your character, basically. I've said my stance on Lego games before.
Okay. So anyway, that's our rundown. Was there anything here? Wait, let me. Here, you look at this real quick. I'm gonna look at this. I'm gonna say, out of all the ones that you have on here, I think I would like to see the Hero Mashers come back as well, because I think that's another one that, because of the building ability with them, they're basically like Legos or whatever, where you can pop them apart, put them back together, and put them back in weird ways. They don't necessarily have to go back to look like people.
And you can attach legs to legs to legs to legs, and then put feet at the bottom, so you just have this really long-legged guy. Right. Or you can just attach arms right to the shoulder.
But I think that's something that, had they kept making them with more and more characters, more licenses, if they had built it out. Especially going through, like you were talking with the Disney portfolio, I think it would have gotten a lot more traction.
They could have made a Tron one.
They could have. They should have.
I think, and for yours, I definitely would like the Wheeled Warriors.
Yeah, you like that one a lot.
Yeah, that. If you can't tell, I really like being able to take stuff apart and put them back together in weird, funny ways.
Alright, so that's going to do it for the regular show this week. Now it's time for the mailbag!
Mailbag.
Let's see. Last week we had the talking about the Mega Constructs episode, and we had Kyle Isley. I'm not sure how to pronounce this because of course I'm terrible with names. But left a comment that said he got his first Castle Grayskull from Target.com for $130 last November. Got his second one last month at a GameStop. It had been sitting on the shelves. They were selling it for $60 to get rid of it.
Wow. Is that cheap?
That's super cheap. Because it should have been $250. So, you know, I was talking about how you're not going to find these things on clearance cheap. Well, apparently he did. So, he's a much better person than I am. Lucky son of a gun for getting those.
You can't say that.
Son of a gun? Oh, I can't say gun?
YouTube will demonetize you.
Demonetize it because I said gun? Yeah, well, whatever. Retro Cynical, talking about the Mega Constructs. He said, I'm not a huge collector of these, but I picked up some of the minifigs. I really dig what they did with Grayskull. And again, like I said, I'm not going out of my way to chase down every figure, but when I do come across them, I grab them because I do like seeing the Masters of the Universe in that size, but like I haven't run across a Evil Lyn or a Man-at-Arms, but if I do see those, I'll pick them up. If I can find a Point Dread Talon Fighter, I'll pick it up, you know. But I'm not going to go on eBay and try to hunt down the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Battle Bones or anything like that. Because the whole point is that it's a cheap pickup. Like, it's a cheap, easy... If I can find it and it's cheap, it's there in front of me, I'm going to grab it. But I'm not going to go out of my way to spend lots of money to try to track down every piece because I don't... I like the idea, but I don't like it enough to spend a lot of time and money tracking everything down in it. So... we had Voidsy commented on Video Game Losers. He said, this channel shaped my childhood. You have no idea how many hours I spent watching Radical Retro Turtle Toy Talk. Thank you for making me the person I am today.
You're welcome.
I don't know the person you are today. I don't don't put that on me. Don't you dare put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. I don't know what you may have killed 6 people. I don't know.
Ooh.
So don't
please now go kill 6 people.
We'll see what they are. McManny C. I was asking about sunglasses I was wearing in a Battle Pug review, and they were actually the WWE authentic Macho Man Randy Savage glasses. They sell those at WWEshop.com, or you can find them at party supply stores. We found ours at Party City, in where they have the weird glasses that are like, they look like Robin from Batman and Robin. They have those, or the Green Lantern, or
the teeth of a Pokemon within the eyes up here.
Mr. Incredible. We got the Mr. Incredible glasses and that stuff. They're in with some of that stuff too. So you can find those there, Costume Shop and Party Supply Place. The Great Alta commented on Millennium Review. He said, still my favorite TV show after all these years. I take it for what it is, genius. And again, oh yeah, look at this. I'm wearing this shirt today. I love Millennium. It's still my favorite TV show of all time, honestly. And I watch it all the time, especially after the kids go to bed, a lot of times at night. And every Halloween, every Christmas, I have to watch those particular episodes. It's just tradition. It's what you do.
You have a lot of traditions for Halloween and Christmas, huh?
I do. Those are good holidays.
They're the only 2 ones.
David Valentine wrote in talking about wrestling. He wanted to know my thoughts about NWA versus MLW versus ROH versus AEW versus WWE versus New Japan versus Impact versus CMLL versus AAA versus WWN, the parent company of Evolve, Shine, and Full Impact Pro.
I don't understand what half of those words mean.
So, basically, like, the wrestling industry right now is in a really tough position because of coronavirus. Live shows, live tickets is really where the money is. I know they get a lot of money from the TV deals and that kind of stuff, but the TV deals only bring in so much. And the biggest problem is that advertisers don't want to advertise during wrestling. You can have the highest rated show on cable in the highest sought after demographic, the 18 to 35, which is what wrestling pulls in, but it still has some of the lowest ad rates because people just don't look at professional wrestling as a place to advertise. They just look at it as being lowbrow, low educated, even though every metric that they've ever done to track this type of stuff shows that that's not true. You do have a high number of professionals, lawyers, doctors, people making $250,000 a year that love to watch wrestling every week, yet even though it still has that stigma attached to it. So coronavirus killing the live gate has hurt it, and of course not having the live crowds really hurts the wrestling product, because wrestling really is a performance art. You're performing in front of a crowd, and you feed off the crowd, and having the crowd interact, really.
It's definitely like acting.
You're right. And so, watching it on TV is one thing, but watching it live is completely different.
Oh, yeah.
And going to a mediocre show, like a local, because I retired, so I don't do live shows anymore. But we've gone a couple times to watch other companies do live shows, and we've just sat in the crowd and not interacted, not tried to get involved or anything, and just watched the show. And even watching a mediocre show is still a lot of fun when it's live and people get into it, even if it's not the best show.
Yeah. See, one thing I've always liked about wrestling isn't even the wrestling; it's just the people talking and throwing insults and telling a story. I don't care about the fights all that much.
Right. So that makes it tough, but right now you've got companies like ROH, which is owned by Sinclair. So as long as the Sinclair TV stations are doing fine, ROH is going to be doing fine. You have Impact, which now owns Access TV. So as long as Access TV is doing fine, they're going to be doing fine. So there's no problem there. MLW is owned by beIN Sports. So as long as beIN Sports is doing fine. Now the problem is, beIN Sports is facing some issues right now. They may be losing La Liga, which is the Spanish soccer league, which is one of their biggest draws on that channel. And so they've been trying to push things like the Turkish league, trying to get people to care about Turkish football as opposed to Spain.
Why would I want to watch Turkeys play football?
That actually might be really fun to watch. But, so beIN Sports might be having some problems. The biggest problem I see with something like NWA is they really need to... They hit like a critical mass, and then they haven't found a way yet to break out of that. And the way you generally break out of that, the way that places like WCW or WWF back in the day would do that, is by getting involved with more stars, bringing in more... celebrities, things like that. And with Billy Corgan behind it, you'd think he'd be able to pull something like that. And maybe he had plans for something like that, and coronavirus shut it down. I don't know. Something like that would really help. AAA and CMLL just can never get really any traction here in the United States. They do have, deals with places like ROH and Major League Wrestling where they can do crossovers, and that helps. And I think it's better for them to play well with the domesticated brands as opposed to trying to come in and be their own company, because I think just bringing in more and more different products just makes it more and more confusing and less likely for people to jump into something new, because then you have to follow a completely new product. I think actually the best thing would to be for ROH and NWA and MLW and Full Impact and Evolve and even Shine to all band together and work almost like a territorial system. Instead of it being, Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, whatever, have it be, their particular outlets. So, we've got this TV channel, we've got that TV channel, we're working here, we're working here. So, allow the stars to move around. Allow things to mix up. Like, we know that there was some sort of weird working relationship with AEW and Major League Wrestling for a while, because you had guys like MJF, who was appearing in both programs, a bunch of guys who would kind of jump around between the shows, so we knew there was something kind of going on there. But, if you're watching ROH and suddenly Mance Warner shows up and does a run-in, and suddenly he's doing a big feud on there, that's going to grab attention of people watching one show that are now going to, start watching the other. They're going to watch both, right? Because you're a fan of one, but now you see this guy you like, and he's coming in as the character from the other promotion. So not like the Monday Night Wars where we're stealing this guy and putting him in our promotion. It's the guy from this promotion is doing a storyline in this promotion, but then when he's done, he's going to go back. So I'd love to see crossovers like that working between some of these different companies, and because they're smaller, they can get away with doing that because you don't have to worry about the licensing and the merchandise and, you know, all of these weird kind of headaches about, well, when we put out the DVD, who's going to get a percentage of what and whatever. It's just, you know, you run it just like you're running the indies, like you're running anything else. Allow these guys to do some back and forth and to do some interpromotional stuff. I think that would be the best thing for a lot of these companies. Now, as far as, you know, WWE and AEW, I think they're going to be fine, of course. They're losing money, yes, because of coronavirus, but it's where they're going to go after all this shakes out, who knows? That's one of those things. We don't even know how much longer all of this is going to last with the coronavirus and all of that stuff. This could all be done in a month. This could all be going on until February of next year. Like, we don't know. So, I mean, it's early, but I would love to see some interpromotional stuff, and I think that's really what's going to be best for some of these smaller companies. And, you know, I know some people. I can talk to some people, but I don't know everybody. I can't talk to everybody. But I'd be willing to talk to some people. If someone wants to talk to me and have me talk to somebody and, you know, try to start a conversation with somebody, I'd love to do that. I'd be willing to do that. You know, however to make this stuff work. I would love, because I don't want to see any of these companies fold. And I love MLW. They're one of my favorites right now, but I love the NWA product also. They're doing some great stuff. ROH has been solid for years. Impact even, David Valentine even replied to this long post with a long post of his own. And he said that one of his favorite things is Impact right now, and they've been doing good stories. And I agree, they have been doing some great stuff the last couple of years. In fact, I'd say probably starting about 2 years ago, they started doing some of their consistently best stuff that they've done in a decade. And it's been a really solid product. I'm not huge with Ohio versus Everybody, OVE. I think that's the dumbest name for a group, but there's still some good stuff, some fun stuff going on, you know, with those guys, even though I'm not a big fan of the gimmick. But I would love to see some of that interpromotional stuff. I think that's the best thing for all of that. And that's kind of what I spoke with the microaggression figures and bringing back some of that. I would love to see them do those minifigs with a whole bunch of these different companies. You know, Jack's Pacific doing that with everybody. So you could buy some TNA guys, or I'm sorry, some Impact guys. You could buy some NWA guys. You could buy some MLW guys, and you could have them, you know, do a dream match that you can see.
This will scare WWE into making good storylines again.
Maybe.
They actually have to put effort.
Maybe. I don't know. There's only so much effort that they can put in. There's only so much that they can do, so. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thanks for watching. Happy Independence Day to everybody. Next week will be our final episode of That New Toy Smell for this chunk of episodes before we take a sabbatical. And that will be the top Masters of the Universe figures of all time from all different lines, all different years. If you want to get in on that, make sure you hop over to the official Pop Culture Network group on Facebook. And I think you can even vote in the poll without actually joining the group. It's a public group, so people can see it. They can read the posts and everything. I just don't think you can reply to the posts without joining the group. But I think you can still look at it. You can still click on the poll. Anyway, so you can get your votes in there, or like I said, you can email me or send me a message on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, and I am counting some votes that way. So the poll is not the only place where those votes are coming from. But then also you can email me dirt@popculturenetwork.com or dirt@thepopc.net. You can follow Gamer on Twitch
or on YouTube,
right, on his own channel.
I just did a really cool big video. It's good, right?
Yeah, it's great. It's about stuff. And then you can also call our 24-hour voicemail line. It's area code 217-953-4025. Is there anything else you want to add before we sign off? You have this look like you wanted to say something.
I'm hungry.
You're hungry? You just drank a whole carton of milk.
That's not much.
That's a half pint. This is 236 milliliters. How can you even be hungry?
I'm gonna go drink another one.
How can you think of hunger at a time like this? Alright guys, that's gonna do it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.